I could just add to that I mean, I was at college at that time, I'm a dean, and we were moving to co-ed dorms pretty much as Grinnell was. Where Grinnell stood out was very shortly afterwards, and this sort of made national headlines, the Playboy disrobing and co-ed bathrooms. Grinnell was way ahead of most institutions with co-ed bathrooms, partly because physically the dorms only had one bathroom per floor at that point. You know, a little better now, but it was just a matter of practicality. People weren't going to run up and down stairs. But it was notorious, the co-ed bathrooms.
Yeah. My sense, George, and I'd like to hear you comment on this, is that actually where Grinnell was different is that other schools were getting co-ed dorms, were getting intervisitation, but it was still top down. And at UC Santa Cruz, we got intervisitation in 1968, but it was granted. We didn't take it. It was granted to us. And you can see Leggett doing that with the 84 hours. He's still trying to give something that the students are saying, you can't give it to us. You have it.
Oh, yeah.
That strikes me as the unique thing, is whether it's something that you win or it's something that you take.
Yeah, and the most, I mean, actually, there are a lot of interesting things you said. The most interesting is, you know, a dorm saying, yeah, we make our own rules, we've been doing this, we've been enforcing it, here they are.
Right.
And then the dominoes fall.
Right.
I mean, that's really interesting and unusual.
That's the way that self-government states for now in our peer institutions. Yeah. What?
Sorry, I have a follow-up question. I thought it was really interesting how you found this gap in 1968 during all this international debacles. But if Grinnell was already different in terms of how it approached self-governance, then do you think that Grinnell students in the Grinnell community reacted differently to these world events than their peer institutions in terms of how they used it to frame self-governance?
Well, I think that students are really understanding articulations of student power in places like Columbia, and they are kind of using it as a threat too. There are a few little mentions in the S&B of well, you know, Columbia could happen if we don't get visitation. But I think that generally speaking, it seems to me that Grinnell students follow the general trends of the way the students are looking at big national issues. Thank you.
So it seems like you sort of used this backlog of the S&B to great effect, but did you get the opportunity to talk to alums and kind of see what the feeling was from those firsthand?
I decided not to talk to alums, basically so that I could focus on what they actually said when they were here, and you know what people had written when they were here. I think that the next step in this project, you know, if it's something that down the road I somehow come back to, I think that the next step in this project is to talk to alums and talk about how they feel about it. You know, you can go read Grinnell Wiki and their alums from the 60s posting on there about their various stories. But I decided that as a research technique, it was easier to go to the stories at their source than to kind of try to figure out what do people remember, you know, how is their memory actually correct, how do they, because you can misinterpret a lot of memory, and so I stuck to the archival sources more. Okay.
I know this is a little bit outside the scope of your research, but beyond, I think you said it was 1970, it's actually in the course catalog, mentioned explicitly that this is ending self-government. But my question is, did you encounter any evidence of significant resistance either on the part of students or the administration after, say, 1970?
To the idea of self-governance?
Yeah, in the 80s and 90s. I know we have all these significant events happening now, and students are really saying, hey, this is what we want, but that doesn't, is there any resistance after that, or is it just all right?
I think, you know, it's a little bit beyond what I've looked at specifically, but you're right, self-governance is mentioned as the word self-governance. It's a little section in the handbook, I think for the student handbook for the first time in 93 or something like that, okay? So self-governance as this label idea is actually really quite late. Self-government, you know, the actual principle of it all goes way, way, way back. And so I'm sure that throughout the entire course of self-governance at Grinnell College, there have been debates about student power and how much student rights they have. The idea that self-government is important and that students can learn from governing themselves, I think is a principle that probably stays through right through.